My name is Marianne. At the start of last year, I overindulged in gourmet food and gained 3 kilograms, so I'm 45 years old and dieting in anticipation of this coming end-of-year holiday. If I lose 3 kilograms now, it won't be a problem if I gain 3 kilograms during the long holiday, right? Right? Isn't that the point? Haha, you must be joking. There's so much delicious food from Christmas to New Year's. It's a happy problem. I'll probably end up buying myself Valentine's chocolates too. Oops, I'm drooling a little. Looks like I'm going to gain weight again this year, oh dear. Well, today I have a winter episode I'd really like you to hear. It's a story from when I was 25 years old. After dating for several years, my engagement to my boyfriend, Scott, was decided, and I introduced him to my parents. This was the so-called marriage greetings. My parents liked Scott, and the marriage discussion should have gone smoothly, but there was a problem. When my older sister, Sally, who is 2 years older than me, came back from work, she was fixated on Scott. Strangely, when you are sisters, you can understand each other's feelings and thoughts. She had fallen in love with Scott at first sight. I hoped it was just a whim, but when my sister shook hands with Scott, she blushed and held his hand tightly. Even when talking, she always had a dreamy look in her eyes. I don't think it's appropriate for a sister to behave like that towards her younger sister's boyfriend, but she must have done it unconsciously. Human emotions are uncontrollable, and I continued to pretend I didn't see anything, believing my sister wouldn't pursue a serious relationship. However, after Scott left, my sister, who had just come out of the bath wrapped only in a towel, confronted me. "You should call off the engagement," she declared. According to her, that man is a philanderer and you can find someone more suitable. She continued to slander Scott. But there was no basis for her claims. "Why do you think he's a playboy?" I asked. "It's a woman's intuition," my sister replied. My sister has never had a boyfriend. How could I believe in her woman's intuition based on her inexperience with the opposite sex? Therefore, I thought I should trust Scott's character, which I have observed over the years. Of course, I casually dismissed my sister's advice with a "yeah, I'll be careful not taking it too seriously." Since then, Scott frequently visited our home. He said he wanted to build a good relationship with my family, so I invited him over comfortably in response. My parents were pleased, and I hoped that my future husband and my parents would get along well. Though the relationship should have been built positively, my sister tried to build a good relationship with Scott in a different sense. According to Scott, when I wasn't around, she grabbed his arm, pressed her chest against him, and asked, "Don't you think Marianne is immature?" She even asked for his contact details and intentionally fell down to expose her underwear. Scott said it was so overdone it was actually funny, but I would have been really worried if he was the kind of man to take it seriously. Also, my sister thought there was a chance because Scott couldn't outright refuse her as she was my sister. And every time they met, she approached him with a sweet voice saying, "Hey." Although it started with love at first sight, the fact that Scott worked at a fairly large company also struck her heart. He's dependable, has the type of face I like, and is a good man who provides security for the future, she said. She was completely captivated by him. While witnessing my sister's inappropriate behavior, my parents said nothing. In fact, it's not new for my parents to say nothing to my sister. Honestly, my sister has always been the type who can't do anything right. For instance, if asked to warm up the side dishes, she somehow uses a non-heat-resistant plastic dish and melts it, and she was bad at studying. She was also not good at sports, often skipping swimming classes with various excuses like hurting her foot, feeling unwell, or having skin issues. She was not good at academics, sports, or household chores. Honestly, her looks aren't particularly outstanding either. Still, just because she is the eldest daughter, my parents treat her specially and secretly push the role of supporting her onto me. Quietly, that is. I've been continually told to make her stand out without attracting attention. It's unfair to be treated so differently as siblings. However, maybe my parents see her as a pitiable child who can't do anything, which makes them feel even more sorry for her. Strangely, I've always been the type who is efficient and can do anything quickly. Perhaps the adults felt there was no charm in teaching someone who could handle everything on her own. Thus, I can easily manage the task of supporting my sister, and I sometimes intentionally act as the incapable one in public. As I grew out of my teenage years and realized, continuing this way, I'll fail the exams, I began to resist my parents and act on my own will. If I had continued to comply, I really would have become a person who can't do anything. Due to my defiance, my sister began to dislike me a bit for losing support, but our relationship was never truly bad. We could talk normally, and sometimes I even gave advice on her issues. Our family had distorted aspects, like overprotectiveness towards my sister and a bit of hostility from her, but I still think we were a perfectly normal family. However, the balance was disrupted because Scott did not reciprocate my sister's feelings. I can't accept that my younger sister is getting married before me. On the eve of our wedding, my sister exclaimed these words to our parents. "Don't say that. You will find a good partner soon too, Sally." "I agree with Dad, Sally. It's not like that. Normally, the older sister gets married first, and then the younger sister. It's too soon for her." "But the wedding is tomorrow, isn't it?" "What are you saying, Mom? Don't you care about me? I'm going to be the pitiful older sister who gets surpassed by her younger sister." "That's not true." That night, I quietly listened to the intense exchanges between my sister and our parents from the hallway. Should my sister get married first? If I waited for her to marry, I would age considerably in the blink of an eye. What is she really thinking? I thought once she voiced her complaints, she would settle down. I understand. Both Mom and Dad will not attend the wedding tomorrow, so please be satisfied with that, Sally. What? I was shocked by these words. Both my father and mother agreed not to attend my wedding and apologized to my sister. What is this? It's like they're followers of my sister's cult. This is beyond mere indulgence. Still, my sister sighed unhappily. Fine, I'll compromise. Let her have a wedding that nobody acknowledges. She clearly does not want me to marry Scott. Probably because she herself has feelings for him. It's unbelievable. A wedding without the presence of my parents due to my sister's unrequited love is becoming a reality. And then, the wedding day arrived. Despite it being a day of celebration, I could hardly sleep due to anxiety. Of course, it wasn't anticipation that kept me awake, but the discomfort from recalling the exchanges between my sister and my parents. I won't forget the satisfied smile on my sister's face when my parents told her they wouldn't attend. At the venue, I explained to Scott and his parents that mine would not be attending. I apologize. My sister opposes this marriage, so my family will not be attending, I said. It was a heartbreaking announcement to make. My in-laws could hardly believe that there were parents who would not attend their own daughter's wedding. They were silent for a while after hearing my story. On such an important day, the moment I felt the heavy atmosphere, my mother-in-law took my hand. Immediately, my father-in-law placed his hand on top of ours. Do you remember that your family is here? Don't make this day a sad one. Come on, why don't you smile, said my mother-in-law warmly, and I couldn't help but tear up. Marianne, I'm here as your husband, so please stop saying the family isn't attending, Scott said as he tenderly stroked my head. Seeing me start to cry, my in-laws and Scott hurried to cheer me up, saying, "Don't cry. You're the bride and your makeup will run," even though they were joking. Then my mother-in-law looked at me intently and said, "Marianne, it might be tough with your family back home, but this new life you're starting should be a wonderful beginning. Let's build your own family." Though I was feeling abandoned, my mother-in-law firmly embraced me. Scott and my father-in-law followed suit. I told myself it's okay, just like my mother-in-law said, this is supposed to be a new beginning. I vowed to build my own happy family, and that day I officially got married with Scott. 15 years have passed. During that time, my husband and I had a daughter and 2 sons. My capable daughter, who can handle anything, keeps an eye on her 2 mischief-loving brothers who mess up the house. Sometimes, the sound of my own voice yelling, "Stop it now," surprises even me. Scott's job was going well, we bought a house, and we were living a stable life, but then unexpected visitors appeared. It was none other than my father, mother, and sister. After marriage, I had kept my distance from my family and hadn't given them my new address. However, they somehow found our house and showed up unexpectedly. Of course, the words that came out from me when they appeared were not a warm greeting like, "Long time no see," but, "What do you want?" "I have a favor to ask of you," my sister said. My parents also said, "It's something only you can do for us," as they looked at me sincerely. What's going on? What could they possibly need from me after 15 years of distance? Half in anticipation and half in fear, I remained silent as my mother spoke up. "We want you to give Scott to your sister." What? Both Scott and I were shocked by her words. Wait a minute. Why do you mean I need to give Scott away? When I asked this sharply, both my parents turned away, looking guilty. Only my sister remained smug and proud. She's still single and she's turning 42 this year. And that's a problem because I couldn't grasp the logic in my father's words. Scott showed the same confusion. Actually, the company she worked for recently went under, and she's currently unemployed. That's tough. We worry about your sister's future being single and jobless. We hope you understand. Since you are sisters, you should feel the same. I silently countered their serious looks with, "No, I don't think so," in my mind. Curious about what they would say next, I was frustrated with my father's slow speech. I held back unnecessary comments, eager to hurry his response. "She's always liked Scott. And she's still alone because of that. You've enjoyed your marriage with Scott, haven't you? Could you please let your sister have him for the rest of her life?" What? What do you mean? Seeing their reactions, Scott seemed lost for words as well. Meanwhile, my parents were pleading, please, and my sister maintained her haughty demeanor. She seemed certain she would get Scott. Given that my parents always catered to her desires, it's no wonder she believed it. But this was an outrageous request. As I held my head in my hands, Scott pulled me aside and whispered, "This might actually be a chance." Really? Yeah, because this is like that joke you made when you were drunk coming to life. Then, shall we go for it? With that, we stood up and faced my sister and parents again. "Do you really love Scott that much?" Surprised by my question, my sister couldn't hide her astonishment and repeated several times, "Yes, yes, I really, really have loved him all this time." Truly? That's some deep affection. To continue loving him for 15 years, even though he's another woman's husband. Yes, it's been very painful. Seeing you and Scott together, it should have been me. Stunned by her conviction-filled words, Scott and I struggled to keep our composure. "I give up. If you love him that much, I'll step aside." The parents were shocked by this statement. My mother quickly reacted, "Really? Don't you love Scott too?" "No, actually, Scott. To tell you the truth, I've always liked Sally." When Scott replied, my sister's face flushed with delight. "Really? I knew it. You never resisted when I hugged you, and your eyes always looked so loving. I've been waiting. Finally, this moment has come." It was hard for me to suppress my laughter. Scott was pretending to cry, but I could see his shoulders shaking. "We'll just have to bear with this moment a little longer. We'll always be together from now on, Scott." Suddenly, my sister started speaking to him so casually, it strangely sounded natural. For the past 15 years, she must have been experiencing a fulfilling romance with Scott in her mind. "Sally, I'm happy. Please be my support from now on," Scott said with a smile. "Yes, absolutely. So, I'm going to quit my job. Really?" The sudden blush on my sister's face disappeared, replaced by an expression of shock. "I want to be with you, Sally. All the time, so I'm quitting my job to always be by your side. What? I won't even go outside anymore. I'll follow you to the bathroom, and I'll watch you do housework from behind. Scott's cheerful tone left my sister momentarily stunned before she began to panic. Our parents couldn't hide their disturbance either. But I'm not working either, and this? This is troubling. What's troubling? If we're together, we have nothing to fear. We don't need money to be happy. But nowadays, we need to pay for insurance, right? It's not like the old times. We can't love each other if there is no money. I'm not saying that, but my sister's eyes lost focus. Seizing the moment, I quickly said, Scott, if we do end up divorcing, I'll be taking a generous share of the assets, so you better pay up. Don't worry, your sister and parents will take care of the payments, Scott replied with a laugh. Hearing this, our parents went pale and looked at each other. Sally, this is hard to say, but this isn't right. Stealing a husband from your sister. Exactly, Sally. That is indeed. Where had all the previous passion gone? It was as if our parents had suddenly switched their gear. What are you talking about? You promised to give Scott to me. But Sally, that was before. I don't want to hear it. Doesn't anyone support me? As my sister ranted in a frenzy, she pulled my mother's hair, and my father struggled to mediate. It was like watching a scene of utter chaos. In the midst of the chaos, Scott calmly inserted his words. As everyone's attention turned to him, he said, Honestly, you are not my type. I respect you as Marianne's sister. But apart from that, I don't really want to interact much with you. Especially that upward gaze. Yes, that actually turns me off. The feeling that someone harbors unrequited feelings for me is honestly quite difficult. Scott's candid remarks left both my sister and our parents speechless. But Scott, what was all that earlier? Please stop being so casual with someone else's husband. There's no way he could fall for you. We have a family and we are living happily. While saying this, I stopped my sister, who was walking towards Scott with a pale face. What? You tricked me, my sister shouted. How can you think someone who hasn't contacted you for 15 years loves you? Isn't that unrealistic? I challenged her. My sister's face turned red and she began to tear up. Clearly tears of frustration. If you were truly an attractive woman, maybe. But no one finds charm in someone who is unemployed, dependent on their parents, and can't do anything because her mother has always done the household chores. With those things at your age, any marriage wouldn't last long. As I spoke plainly, Scott chuckled quietly behind me. Struck by the truth of these words, my sister began to cry loudly, unable to stop her tears. Our parents tried to comfort her, but their faces bore confused expressions, as if saying it's really true. Therefore, I'm not handing over Scott. With that being the case, please give up, Sally. At this, my sister began to cry like a child. It was an unseemly sight for an adult. She really hasn't grown up. Take this experience as a lesson, and please don't involve yourself with us again. No matter how much trouble you find yourself in the future, don't expect any help from us. With that, I slowly closed the front door. When the children asked, "What happened?" I responded, "It's Halloween season, so it seems a ghost came early." My eldest suggested, "Let's exorcise the spirit." Although I stopped that idea, it almost seemed like there was a wailing ghost outside, as we could hear my sister crying. Another 5 years passed, and she remained single. She managed to find a job but was eventually fired for inappropriate behavior and caused trouble by rushing into marriage too much, leading to her being banned from matchmaking events. It seems she might stay single for life. My parents are working part-time even after retiring, saving money for her sake. They probably realize they can't rely on her for their future care. I hope they feel the consequences of indulging her after all their hard work. Now, I spend my days as a homemaker without worrying about my children's school fees, thanks to my intelligent children and a husband with a stable income. Sometimes I wonder if working outside could have helped me quickly burn off the calories from overeating during the end-of-year holiday. My daughter, already slim, is entering her growth phase and wants to start dieting, which I'm persuading her against. You can think about dieting when you're older like me, I advise her. My 2 sons love dancing and recently showcased their talent at a local event, winning several awards. They confidently say, "We're going to be in BTS one day." So, I sincerely hope BTS continues as a group until my sons are grown-ups. We enjoy regular visits from my in-laws, who are as dear to me as my own parents, sharing delightful meals. When the children have spring break, we plan to take a spa trip, looking forward to spending quality time together. Though there were many difficulties before marriage, my daily life through marriage has been filled with happiness, deepening the true bonds of family. I hope for continued health and long life for everyone to share more precious times with our family.